Okay, I want to do a little rant here about. Let's see if my mic's on. I want to do a little rant here about the state of the United States, especially its much acclaimed military. Uh, you talk to normies and boomers and normie boomers and boomer normies. They're always going. They still buy this idea that the United States military is unstoppable and invincible. Why? Because they're TV watching fools. Um, this is all smoke and mirrors, people. Now this story here made it around among the commentators I listened to. The Duran is one of my favorites. I got to give people shout outs. Some of the mapping channels I get into: Defense Politics Asia. There's Military and Foreign Affairs Network, Military Summary. Just shout out to all these guys. If I'm missing any, forgive me for that. There's several others, I'm sure, but this story made the rounds. So it looks to me, and this whole thing is confusing. First of all, I see just trying to research this topic. The media is rather reluctant, like the mainstream media, the ones that are in the pockets of big daddy government. They are reluctant to report on this. And in order to figure this out, the best I can figure this out is Lockheed Martin had a contract. So Lockheed Martin had a contract, and that was scrapped, and they couldn't really. They were having problems in development, and I guess Raytheon is still developing a hypersonic missile. So that's the best I can make it out. In other words, we're kind of having a hard time developing a hypersonic missile. Now, when I tell this to boomers and normies and boomer normies, I won't do that again. When I tell this to boomer normies, they say, "Oh, well, they're keeping it a secret. They actually have one, fully functional, and they're keeping it a secret." And that's quite simply impossible. Um, and it doesn't serve one of the main purposes of weaponry. One of the main purposes of these kinds of weapons is as a deterrent. If Soviet Union announced it when they were comfortable, I'm assuming pretty soon after they developed hypersonic missiles, they announced it. I mean, if you look at there's a nuclear submarine that it looks like that the Soviets developed, made out of titanium or something, that they did a planned leak in which, let me see if I could let me see if I could find this. Okay, so here's the video I was referencing where he shows this basically selective leak of on Russia's part, leaking plans for a secret submarine to the world. And the author, the content creator, seems to think it was an intentional leak. And then I want to get into why this was an intentional leak. Why do countries do this? And why would they not do this? So let's go.
He was seen talking to President Biden. But back in 2015, during the televised segment of the meeting, the camera looked over the shoulder of one of the senior officers, a bit like shoulder surfing, essentially. And it revealed plans for a new super secret weapon. Known as Status 6, it's essentially a mega torpedo. We'll come to it in a bit, but it's nuclear powered, nuclear armed, and so on. There was actually quite a lot to unpack on that slide. Several submarines of interest, lots of information about the Status 6 weapon, which is the torpedo in the middle. However, we're going to concentrate on the submarine that was on the top left of that. That's Bilgorod. So
So he doesn't say in the video that it was intentional, but it could have been an intentional leak. And obviously, the Russians announced when they eventually announced that they had hypersonic missiles. Probably once they were sure they were well developed. Now, Russia's a bit of a different animal than the United States, but this idea that the United States would have access to a weapon whose main purpose is as deterrent is as a deterrent, which is that is what missiles are, especially missiles like these that can hold nuclear weapons. They are primarily supposed to be a deterrent at this stage. Although there are some people in DC, don't get me wrong, that must desperately want to usher in an era of tactical nuclear weapons usage. Okay, now, as an aside, Alfred Nobel, most people should know this if they don't. Alfred Nobel believed his invention, which was TNT, essentially. I don't know if he branded the TNT, but he certainly created the nitroglycerin substance. And he felt that his weapon was going to end all wars. And that's why he was enthusiastic about it. But all it did was end up killing a lot more people. I don't know the whole story behind the Nobel Peace Prize, but my understanding is it was because he was upset that he saw his invention quickly get used to kill people in even greater numbers. And but he was fabulously rich and fabulously influential, so he started the Nobel Peace Prize. And it's too bad that they ruined it, by the way. But anyway, so for me, it's safe to assume that the United States has not actually developed the hypersonic missile yet. And the way the United States, as I mentioned, the United States and Russia are slightly different animals. As I mentioned a minute ago, they're different animals. And one of Russia's biggest weapons companies that has, as it says in this piece here, by what looks like a more or less a neoconservative sort of thing. I don't know anything about this guy, but this is true. He has hyperlinks. Read it and check it. It's very neoconish. So, most of Russia's weapons industry is part of a single company that is entirely state owned, whereas the United States weapons industry is completely privately owned as far as the people who build the weapons. The government gives them contracts, so they often advertise because they don't want to just sell these weapons to the United States. Although something like a hypersonic missile. Even hypersonic missiles, they would want to sell those to NATO partners, or they call them partners. They're really vassals, obviously, but they want to sell those to NATO partners. So they're going to advertise these weapons before they're actually fully developed. I mean, they're doing this for money. I mean, if we talk about the Americans' weapons industry, a lot of people correctly point out that having a private weapons industry has led us to this weird space where we spend so much more money than any other country, and this war in Ukraine is making it look debatable whether that money was worth it or not. Because see, what Ukraine is really to the United States, or what it was going to be in the beginning for the weapons manufacturers, was a place to make money. And unfortunately, now the problem is a lot of the weapons in the United States arsenal that have been used, the ones that were supposed to really change the whole situation, Stinger missiles, javelins, have proven only marginally effective, from what I understand. And it seems to me like that there's not. I mean, I just heard that $40 billion of this $113 billion of aid still has not been sent to Ukraine, which I'm glad for, obviously. But perhaps Biden is not willing to. Maybe the weapons companies are not willing to send any more weapons there because they feel that they're taking a reputation hit. Now, that's not my idea. There's many people who have said that. I have few original ideas when I talk, but one reason I was going to make a video is because I may have a way to connect all these dots together. We have that situation now where these companies, obviously, they want to make as much money as possible. They market products that are extremely complicated with some advanced capabilities, but overall not practical. And really, they don't have the industrial capacity to mass produce much of anything. We already know at this point that the United States itself couldn't keep up with Russia's current usage of artillery. Whereas the Russian military-industrial complex is partially, according to this, state-owned. And mostly state-owned. And that allows them to perhaps, operate at a loss. Or close to breaking even. Not having to focus on making large margins. I would imagine the weapons industry, especially, the military-grade weapons industry, is a lot like the healthcare industry. Heavily subsidized. I wouldn't imagine that. We know that. Heavily subsidized with huge margins. So, in the medical industry, it's such big margins that the companies are very protective of margins on individual products or services and where the money's going. And they're kind of opaque with that. And the same is true with weapons companies. That's because the margins are huge. Because it's all hype, just like so much in the United States. The United States, where the grift has become, the norm, and everything is hype nowadays. I was just talking to somebody yesterday about the AI hype, all the artificial intelligence hype. And then he says, Elon Musk is getting involved in he's going to make an AI. That was his rebuttal. And I said, that proves that this is a marketing hype. There is a lot of marketing hype. It's not that AI is not going to be useful and not change some things. It seems like, to me, being a little more cynical with it, just a different way of programming, a different way of computer programs to work. And Elon Musk is putting his towel. He's throwing his towel in the ring. I don't know if that's the right expression. And he's putting his boots on, and he's going to get in the mix with AI, and that's why he goes on Tucker Carlson and makes wild claims about AI manipulating people and manipulating countries through its in different ways. You got to watch it. But that's hype, and so much in the United States is hype. Tesla was all hype, and it looks like they make top quality cars, but they just can't sell the cars that they need to actually make their money back. I told people a couple years ago, don't buy Tesla stock. And God bless the people that made money on Tesla stock. But I just knew that they weren't going to be able to capture the market share to actually be a viable car company. So people said, no, they're a technology company. Well, if your technology company is cars, then you need to be a car company too, and a viable one, and they're not. I mean, they're viable, but they're niche. Not going to compete. Certainly not worth many times over the market cap of major automakers. If you got, Ford or GM or Honda having a market cap of like 10% of Tesla, then there's a problem there. All hype. So much in America is all hype. And this is what I wanted to focus on here is I feel that the United States military industrial complex is mostly hype. And I think the military power of the United States at this point is mostly hype. And that's not because of the people, the grunts on the ground. That's not because the male and female war fighters out there. I respect all of them. I don't respect the general staff at this point. But it's all hype. The weapons, the ability of the United States to deliver more firepower than the enemy. That's where war is headed in the near future. It's going to come down to who has the most ability to deliver the most firepower downrange on the enemy. It's going to be a war. War is going to depend, like it did in World War II, really, on industrial capacity. So I think I've talked about that before. And, just trying to figure it out. Now, you go to Google and try to look this stuff up. Let me see if I can find this. It's really spooky. I'm gonna pause it. Okay, I guess on Google here, it's pulling up better results. Earlier, I put something. Maybe I don't know what the words I put, but I got. It seemed to me like the algorithm was trying to give me rosy interpretations of what happened. This seems a lot better, but I digress. So. That's the main thing I want to talk about here. Now, I thought this was cool, but this just goes to show you the United States military is developing this capability, which is interesting. I don't know how actually practical this is going to be. I'm sure it'll be very expensive. But let's just watch this. This is pretty cool because I was watching this, and this is what inspired me to do this video and talk about this. Then I'll say my thoughts. I'll just watch the first couple minutes, like 10 seconds, 15 seconds. Now they have what looks like in their arms are the engines. It looks like. And this is, I don't know how old this video is. Could be pretty old, actually. No, only 2 weeks old. So, wow, I lucked out and got something current. But this is a pretty neat capability. I'm not sure if it's practical yet. Basically, you have, I could turn off the sound for this one. You have, in their arms, these engines. It looks like just air. I don't know how exactly this works. It looks like air, just really fast air coming out with a big motor on the back. And they can carry barely that gun, I'm sure, and not much else. So I don't know how practical it is. But notice this. Is the United States government attempting to keep this secret? Because has the United States, because this is still in development. This is not actually developed yet. This is not. I don't think this is definitely not actually very practical yet. I think it's getting there. So I'm wondering why they didn't keep this secret. Seems like something you'd want to keep secret. It would be used in a lot of covert ops type shit to begin with. But why didn't they keep a secret? Because the company, they're not going to keep this secret. They're selling these to, I'm sure, Great Britain. I think I saw a video earlier with Great Britain on there. So they didn't keep this secret. This would be something actually that you would want to keep secret. It doesn't have a deterrent effect. This is for covert ops type shit. Once they make it practical. Now, if they can't see, I don't believe this whole argument that the United States military has weapons, maybe a couple here and there, but not many that they can actually keep a secret, that they actually choose to keep a secret. Because most of the companies that build these weapons want to advertise it. If they don't keep these secret, which is something that I would imagine they should actually keep secret, then why would they keep hypersonic missiles, a deterrent weapon that you want your enemy to know you have, secret? So I don't know. This argument from normie boomers is fucking annoying. The issue is they don't want to. They're completely brainwashed into believing the United States has an invincible military. There's nothing invincible about our military. It's a money pit, big money laundering scheme, and I think the weapons industry, I've heard, has raised concerns about the U.S. government getting into situations where it would make their products look less marketable. And I've heard those concerns being raised about Ukraine. And I'm wondering if they're going to be some of the ones to push back on the U.S. government getting involved in a wider war with China. I'm wondering. I'm sure the Pentagon wants no part of it. Mark Milley himself used to say he wants no part of it. He thinks we should work on China being an ally or a partner. And I would agree. And that's like one of the few things he said that's actually, that actually makes sense. So anyway, that's where I'm at with it. This argument about we don't have hypersonic missiles. And even if we did have hypersonic missiles, imagine if we went to war with China. First of all, we wouldn't be able to build enough of them. I'm sure China's already cranking them out. Russia's been cranking them out for a while. It seems to me like Russia has a fairly decent industrial base. I would venture to guess bigger than the United States, able to, now people would argue, oh, look, the United States manufacturing sector is worth this and this amount of money. No, I'm talking about in terms of amount of products that they can churn out. And that's what matters. That's what matters in any war, is having something that works, that's practical, that works, that does the job, and making a lot of it. And getting the people to actually use it, however many that takes. Not making jetpacks that are impractical or all of these other money pit ideas that have costed way more than they're supposed to. F-35, for example. Russia could shoot down an F-35 with a fighter jet that costs probably 10% of the cost. But that's why they don't have a big air force. I'm sure they have the ability to use their air defense even on the F-35. As they say, there is no truly stealth plane anyway. Not even on radar. So this whole argument, it's annoying. And they get mad because, as I've said before, people believe these sorts of lies because it makes them feel secure and safe. It gives the future a degree of certainty. The idea that we are the most powerful military, that we have secret weapons that we're going to just blindside people with, that we're unstoppable, that makes people feel safe. And if you're the dissident, this is why those people get mad. The dissident is trying to pop that bubble, but they don't want to leave the bubble, you see. Because it's nice in that bubble. You have to see signs of that. In the future, we're going to have to be aware of this phenomenon, because if we go super authoritarian for a little while before we break apart thereafter, if we do go super authoritarian, it will be your family members who are in the bubble. It will be your friends who are in the bubble. and they won't appreciate you trying to pop it, and they'll do exactly what the German citizen in 1935 did. They will ruin you. They will have you sent to the death camps if it came to that. It almost happened in 2020, folks. It was going in that direction. We all saw the signs. So, just a word of advice on top of everything. But I think that's my rant. How long are we at? I don't even know. 25 minutes. Fair enough. I am out.